Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. If you're here for the first time, if you're back, welcome back. I am the Maize Madman. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you're aware every time I upload a video. Today I have a special presentation for you guys, as this is my immediate recap of the week 1 Michigan versus ECU game on the Bleacher Report app. Make sure you download that, support your boy. It doesn't cost you a penny to be a little friendly. There will be a link to the video below. Shout out to my producer over there, Ian Evers. Really helped me out. And next week it'll be even better, so make sure you tune in. But without any further ado,
I'm upset. No disrespect, respectfully, but disrespectfully, it's disrespect. Disrespectful. Those vile, disgusting Spartans. Poor little bro, man. And I'ma tell him why I'm mad. That vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus, the other state, and of course, as always, I'm upset.
All right. So there you have it. Final score of Michigan ECU 30-3, Michigan over East Carolina, which means they did not cover the spread, by the way. However, Michigan still with the big win, first game of the season in the big house. I am Phil Peters, aka the Maize Madman. This is the biggest winners and losers following week 1, Michigan versus ECU. Let's start with the biggest winner. I thought ultimately, J.J. McCarthy and Roman Wilson were the biggest winners. I'll explain why. Roman Wilson recently made the jersey switch from number 14 that he wore in previous seasons to the number 1 jersey, which is a big deal in Ann Arbor, as people like Braylon Edwards, Anthony Carter wore number 1. So it comes with big expectations. Roman Wilson, not exactly the biggest guy, however, performed excellent in this game, had a hat trick for touchdowns in this one. And JJ McCarthy, obviously the MVP of this one, right? 198.1 QB rating, 280 yards, completing 86.7% of his passes. Unreal. Immediately, they are the biggest winners for me. Let's give, you know what, I'm going to give ECU some credit here, because their run defense, in my opinion, was also a winner. Eventually, Blake Corum broke one for a touchdown, but ECU also had a tremendous goal line stand against Michigan. I believe it was right at the end of the third quarter where Michigan went 4 straight runs on the goal line with Donovan Edwards, and finally it ended with a fumble. Not that it mattered, because they were doing a great job of stuffing Donovan Edwards in that goal line situation. So I'll give ECU's run defense, that front 7, they are also winners today. A loser, and because of that, Michigan's offensive line, in terms of their run blocking, has to be a loser here. It has to be a loser because you went against ECU, who was, they're in a group of 5. They're not necessarily a Power 5 team. Nobody expected them to come in and wreak havoc on the run game, especially when Michigan is returning arguably the best running back duo in the country in Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, and they did a relatively good job of holding those guys down for most of this game. That said, their offensive line, though, could use some help, which means the biggest winner for Michigan on the defensive side, I'm going to go with Michigan's defensive lineman, Kenneth Grant, the massive human. You may have seen number 78 in that ECU backfield all day today. And also Mike Sanders, still the nickel corner for Michigan, who got a big interception early on in the game and really held his man down all game. Mike Sainristil is a real gamer, probably a little undersized, but you wouldn't be able to tell by his game and his heart. Let's get into a little more details about this one, though. As I pointed out, J.J. McCarthy, excellent game, completing nearly 90% of his passes. And that's what everyone wanted to see. Michigan, especially in that first half, with more passes than runs, which is also something that Michigan fans and recruits even wanted to see from Michigan, because they were a real run-heavy team a year ago. In the second half, with a big lead, they did run the ball a little more, but you expect that from any team with a big lead in the second half. ECU, on the final drive of the game, kicked a successful field goal. I was ready to give ECU's kicker the biggest loser in this one, but he did make that field goal. He did miss one earlier in the game, and we know ECU's history with missing kicks, right? Last year, they played a ranked opponent in North Carolina State. I believe they were 13 at the time, and they could have won that game, but of course, the kicker came up a little short. So I'm not going to hammer the ECU kicker today, because he did eventually put points on the board for ECU, but it was this close to being him for the biggest loser. That said, I thought Mike Houston's group came out composed. They did a good job. Mike Houston, of course, the head coach of the ECU Pirates. I thought they were composed. They did a good job of really playing the hand that they were dealt, right? You are going in to play the number two team in the country that is returning 80% of their production from a year ago. You are going into a hostile environment in the big house, and by all accounts, ECU fans showed up for this one. So shout out to the ECU fans. But ultimately, it was Michigan and that dominant offensive line, at least in the pass blocking game, and the skill position players that were just too much for a team like ECU, and that's understandable. I will say this: Michigan is going to have to get better with pass blocking, number one, and run blocking, and with the running backs Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum specifically, finding creases and doing a little better job. This was Blake Corum's first game back, really, since he injured his knee against Illinois a season ago rather. So I expected some rust, and he did look a little rusty, especially some open field things where usually he'd make a guy miss, but ECU did a good job breaking down, completing those tackles. So I got to give them credit as well. But Blake Corum is going to have to be better. Donovan Edwards is going to have to be better. And Michigan's run blocking is certainly going to have to be better. Speaking of Michigan's run blocking in the coaching job, I thought Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator, is his official title. But for this game, due to Jim Harbaugh's 3-game suspension, he was the head coach. I thought he called an excellent game. His offensive coordinator, or his offensive play caller for this game, Kirk Campbell, who is Michigan's official title, is Michigan's quarterback coach, also did an excellent job of calling Michigan plays. There was that first drive, Michigan stalled out on their first drive, 3 and out, 3 straight run plays, but they were backed up into their own end zone, really. But after that, I thought Kirk Campbell really found his groove with the play calling and did an excellent job. Be sure to follow me right here on Bleacher Report if you haven't already. We appreciate that. It is Maize Madman on Bleacher Report as well. Had to do it from the Bleacher Report account today because there were some technical difficulties. Everyone knows about technical difficulties. That's just a part of life these days. Follow me everywhere at Maize Madman. And until next time, stay angry, my friends. I'm upset.
Ladies and gentlemen, this might be our best season ever. My babies, they're about to go to the roof.
All right, now I'm gonna calm down. So I'm gonna calm down, son. I just don't get that all that mace and that lock and all that. I just don't get it, son, for real.
Just calm
and how the